Hi everyone, welcome to my channel again. Hope you've been keeping well and taking good care of yourselves. Today, before we can start our topic of discussion today, like we always do, I want to share some nuggets of wisdom from what I've learned over the years. That when value exceeds price, people give money. When value exceeds price, people give money. In sales, when you call them, you are a salesperson. But when they call you, you are an expert. That's why we're gonna start our today's discussion by actually looking at 8 tips on how to motivate a post-pandemic sales team. I hope that you're going to enjoy this session, and please, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, share, and like. I will also wish you that you may be able to comment on the Dropbox comments so that I can also learn on the feedback that you're giving. So far, most people have been wondering how do they go about their business, especially during this pandemic season. So that's what prompted me to do this video on how to motivate a post-pandemic sales team. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Welcome once again to my channel. I hope you've already subscribed if you're new to the channel, and please share and like and leave for me a Dropbox comment on the Dropbox session. Give me feedback at least so that you can be able to know how best we can be able to discuss further in regards to the topic of discussion of today and many others. I'll go straight to our topic of discussion today: how to motivate a post-pandemic sales team. But before I can start, I want to share some nuggets of wisdom that when value exceeds price, people give money. When value exceeds price, people give money. In sales, when you call them, you are a salesperson. But when they call you, you are an expert. Come to think about it. When you call them, you are a salesperson. But when they call you, you are an expert. Many of the times when people want to do sales, but selling in itself is an art. I remember when I was learning sales, having a background in law, I started sales in a very humble background as a direct sales representative in a big banking institution in a field that I totally didn't know what to do about. I read several books, maybe to give credit to where credit is due. You can go and have a look at some of these books that I once read that motivated me to be the person that I am today. Why We Want You to Get Rich by Donald Trump and Robert T. Kiyosaki. I learned that most entrepreneurs had something unique in most of them. Absolutely all of them had to sell either a service or a product. They had to sell either a service or a product. Being that is that, then it intrigued my mind that what is this that is in sales that is not in any other career. Having a background in law, I started my career in the banking industry at a humble background as a salesperson. It was interesting. Most people are asking me, why aren't you in courts? You should be in courts doing litigation and doing all these things. But surprisingly, I got to know these other careers gives you just a professional background in a certain particular line of things, but sales gives you leverage in a sense that it makes you learn almost everything in all industries. Just by being a salesperson in a particular institution, it's a door opener. When you introduce yourself like, hey, my name is Festo Imbo, I work from company XYZ, it's a door opener to any door. I'll go straight to our topic of discussion today on 8 tips for motivating a post-pandemic sales team. Number 1, setting attainable and measurable goals. Self-esteem, when you set attainable and measurable goals, especially during this post-pandemic season, you will actually be able to have a rapport and be on your salesperson's shoe, in a sense that in a realistic manner. The KPIs that people set, if they are unreasonable, then it actually demotivates the team. With the kind of pandemic that has hit the globe today, we cannot be able to hit the high numbers that we used to hit, though we can actually be able to get some certain leverage, bare minimum standard, acceptable standards to operate in. So the targets has to be attainable in a sense that, so that those specific goals can actually be more effective and reasonable to the salespeople. As these goals, once they are attainable and measurable, then you can actually be able to do what? To evaluate these specific targets that you've set. I am of the school of thought that if you do in sales strategy, when you're doing sales strategy, different people do like annual targets that cover a whole year, but I'm of the school of thought that you break the targets on a quarterly basis. On every quarter, you have a target for a certain specific quarter so that they are measurable. When you're looking at a whole year target, from the beginning of the year, it might look voluminous, but when you break it in quarterly targets, then it's attainable. By the end of the day, you get to achieve quite a lot in regards to how much you've been able to achieve within a certain particular quarter. When you're doing this, when you're setting attainable and measurable goals, bear in mind some certain mechanisms that you can actually be able to put in place to be able to help your salespersons to do sales in a more logical manner. Number one, this can be incentives. You can incentivize your employees by giving them incentives. Incentive per se must not actually be monetary, because monetary incentives can actually be expensive, especially during this period, but they can actually still be monetary but deferred monetary incentives are things like bonuses that you can actually be able to give. If you are in a prime location like the CBD within Nairobi City or any other countries like Johannesburg and the rest, you'll realize and understand that within those specific places you might not even find parking. You can give a parking slot for the best salesperson. Number two, you can also give certificates and airtime for most of your salespeople, because those are some of the tools that they actually use on a day-to-day basis. You can also give them what we call like a fast sale lunch for the new salespeople. Fast sale lunch are incentives that actually motivate other newcomers within the sales fraternity to actually be able to put in more effort and break the ceiling by selling their fast sale. When they do this, introduce them and take them out for a fast sale lunch. This can actually help motivate your teams. Number two, keep learning. Keep learning. In keeping learning, there are so many online courses, low-cost learning programs that people can actually be able to engage in, to be able to know how then can you be able to operate within this kind of season. You can engage in what you call like email marketing. In email marketing, you don't have to be physically present, but through an email chat, especially like it's done during private offer sessions, whereby you have to send an individual an email first to acknowledge when you're introducing them to a certain particular product, and engage in several email actions before you can actually physically meet the customer. That can actually work, especially during this post-pandemic season. One art of sales that I used to use, especially in meeting out very many customers in areas which was very difficult to access and the restrictions were high, was through email marketing. In email marketing, you can get an advert or most of these forwards that have been sent to various companies. For example, I will give you a high security area like the airport. When you're selling to employees of an airport, you have to be very skilled, because number one, the space in itself is a high security area. When you're looking at that specific place, when you're doing email marketing, when you get all these emails, what do you do with them? We get so many forwards for maybe encouragement or anything, but you get quite a lot of them. But then what do you do with those emails? Those specific emails can actually be a good pool for cold calling and for email marketing. Take a pool of those emails and selectively select them. Draft a good introductory email to yourself, to the company that you represent, and the product that you are offering them. Then broadcast it in a polite manner with an action prompt for those specific customers to call you back if any of them is interested. Trust you me, every single day when most employees go to their place of work, the first thing that they do, apart from checking their phones, they also check their emails. And through email marketing, it's an easier way to actually reach most of your customers during this pandemic season. The other way is befriend a HR partner, ask them to help you with the list of all the employees within their specific organization. Talk to them one-on-one, engage them on email, introduce their product, tell them about yourself and how they can contact you whenever they will be interested in that specific product. That way, you'll find that you'll be on a better leverage than any other person who hasn't yet even knocked a door on those places. Now, when you get the first sale in those specific areas, what do? You sell to their neighbor and sell to the other neighbor and sell to the other neighbor. That's why when we started our topic of discussion today by saying, when value exceeds price, people give money. In sales, when you call them, you are a salesperson, but when they call you, you are an expert, because ideally you will have transferred the roles in a sense that when you ought to have been calling them, they're the ones calling you, because you've already introduced yourself and you introduced the product to them and demonstrated the value proposition to them. That way, you become an expert, not a salesperson. Social media marketing, which is also key when you're looking at the key learning areas on how then can you be able to pitch. We have numerous tools on your status updates daily. How then do you introduce your product? It could be probably like you're selling bags. You have a status that is free of charge. You have a LinkedIn status, you have a WhatsApp status, you have a Facebook status, you have a Instagram status, you even have TikTok to actually be able to introduce any product that you're selling and put your contact there. You have numerous forms of marketing that you can actually be able to explore within this pandemic season, which will act like a bait to your customers. In this sense, the customers will be calling you, you will not be the one calling them. In that way, you are an expert, you are not a salesperson. And in that sense, you will be able to do quite a lot of selling. Maybe there could be probably a knowledge gap on how then can you be able to entice most of these customers and engage them in a most better way on how then can you be able to just capture their attention. There are 3 basic skills that one can actually be able to employ, away from the features, advantages, and benefits, which is a cliche in sales that every other salesperson wants to sell features and advantages and benefits. That is an old model of approach in selling products or selling services in the contemporary changing, evolving world, especially during this post-pandemic season. If you are a salesperson, then you should note these 3 skills down. The most important 3 skills in sales that a salesperson can actually be able to employ during this post-pandemic season. Number 1 is the ability to empathize with the customers. Customers want to get connected or to bond with you. If you do not have the ability to empathize with the customers, to make them feel like you are both in the same shoe, then it will be very difficult to even sell or offer any services to any customer. You have to connect to a customer at that pain point. How do you do this? A customer must first understand that, do you have their back? Can you be able to customize those benefits into needs? Are you an expert, or you're just selling to someone something they might not even be needing at this particular time? Can you give the best recommendation if that product is not the best for them? Those are some of the questions that one have to ask themselves, especially when you're pitching to a customer during this post-pandemic season. But when the customer has actually been able to connect to you and realize that you actually have their heart in place, then definitely they will actually be able to buy into you and buy your product or buy your service or consider you in case such a need arises. So the first skill is the ability to empathize with your customers. That way you'll be able to connect and bond with your customers in the best possible way. Number 2 is the ability to uncover challenges and discover prospects and pain points. When you have the ability to uncover these challenges and discover the prospect and pain points, do you know how to sell? That's the first question that will come. Are you a problem solver? Because when you are a problem solver, it drives sales. Any person who has ever discovered a solution to solve a particular problem is a billionaire in this world of today. Is a money minting machine. Anytime you discover a way of solving a problem, then you've made a solution. You've given a customer a solution. That's why the second skill that you need to have is the ability to uncover challenges and discover prospects and pain points. What are these challenges that are affecting this customer? What problem are you solving for this customer? Or are you just selling a product for the sake of selling a product? Last but not least, amongst the 3 skills is the ability to handle objections. It's an interesting part that every salesperson will tell you, like, I know how to handle objections. I know how to handle objections. But when you're looking at it critically, they are handle objections on a reactive manner, but you're supposed to handle objections on an offensive manner. What do I mean by saying offensive manner? When you're reactive, you are actually expecting an objection already, but you are silent and not handling it. But when you're offensive in handling objection, then there will be no objection. For instance, let's say that you are in an investment firm and you want to convince a customer to put some investments in your place. And investments are not little money, they are quite a lot of money. You want to put XX amount into that particular place. Definitely, between you and me, we all know that some of the objections that will come immediately in the mind of any customer who wants to invest in any place will be, number 1, like, is my money safe in your firm or institution or place? So when you're doing your pitch sale, or when you're doing your sales pitch to this specific customer, you have to, after doing all your sales pitch, telling them what rate you'll be offering them, the mechanisms that you put in place, then you are supposed to ask yourself, handling this objection in an offensive or a reactive manner, or on a preemptive manner, will be something like this. Like, I know you must be wondering if your money is safe with us. However, your money is safe because of ABCD. You have corporate guarantee that covers you up to this extent. we are an institution that is regularized by ABCD. We are dependable in a sense that we've managed this, our portfolio is worth this much. So when the customer is comparing the amount that is giving the institution, comparing to the volume of the portfolio, it will give them confidence to be able to put their structures in the right place. Up to this point, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, share, and call a friend and tell a friend to be able to subscribe to our channel so that we can actually be able to learn together. Number two, we ask any of your friends to join in to the conversation. Engage me on the comment section to be able to know what areas you would want to learn more. Stay tuned as we continue doing more on how to motivate your sales teams in this post-pandemic sales season. Stay tuned as we watch on part 2 on how to handle these things that we are talking about. Otherwise, keep safe. Watch out for part 2.